Welcome back to MMA Al Dente. I am the guy who picked Greg Hardy to defeat Tai Tuivasa. And I'm here to talk about Miles Johns versus Douglas Silva De Andrade. My pick for this fight is Miles Johns wins by decision. I think that's typically how you beat Douglas Silva De Andrade. And I think Miles Johns has good cardio and he's a good 3-round fighter. And I didn't think so after his loss to John Castaneda, because that was a fight where cardio definitely played an issue. Castaneda really started beating him up in the second half of the fight. But that's the only example of Miles Johns even coming close to fading. And, of course, he's only lost twice, and that's one of them. But Johns, he's returned to his wrestling in his last few fights, which is something I was hoping he would do. I was very critical of him 2 years ago or whatever for maybe going the route of Josh Koscheck and Gray Maynard, just discovering he'd rather throw overhands than wrestle. But it's a big asset for him, and I'm glad he's sharpened it, or at least I hope he has. But he's got a record of 14-2, Miles Johns. He's got 6 finishes altogether, and all 6 of them take place in rounds 2 or 3. 3 in round 2, 3 in round 3. And we've seen his round 3 finishes at the UFC level, knocking out Kevin Natividad and Anderson Dos Santos. So his power he keeps late in the fight, which is great. And he's got 8 wins via decision. Of course, 3 in his last 3 fights, even though 1 against Dan Argueta was overturned. So I guess technically he's on a 2-fight winning streak or whatever. And I forget why that was overturned. But regardless, it was nothing serious because he got back in there pretty quickly against Cody Gibson, and he looked like the same sharp Miles Johns that we've been seeing since his loss to Castaneda. His one other loss comes to Mario Batista, where he was knocked out with a flying knee, or TKO'd anyway. That was a fight where round 1 was close, but I had Miles Johns winning, and then in round 2, a minute or so into it, he got clipped, and he may not have gone unconscious, but it fucking destroyed him, and he was TKO'd, pounced on. So with that, and with Douglas Silva De Andrade's explosive finishing prowess, I'd say if Douglas is to win, it's probably via finish, even though that's not my pick. My pick is Miles Johns wins a decision. Douglas Silva De Andrade, he's got a record of 29-5. 22 knockout wins in his 29 wins. Typically, if he's going to get it done, it's like that. But at the UFC level, he's only had a few knockouts. He's gotten quite a few of his 7 decision victories inside the UFC octagon. And that's a good look, too. Because, when you're fighting the best competition, you can't rely on being the destroyer. And he's had to fight hard for some decisions. His losses, he's got 5 of them. 1 via TKO, which comes to Petr Yan. That was between rounds 2 and 3. The doctor stopped it. He was being mauled, but it's not like his chin failed him, and it's not like he gave up. It was just a little too much. And he was submitted once by Rob Font, who got him out of there with a guillotine choke in round 2. His other losses, though, are by decision to Said Nurmagomedov. He was also beaten by Lerone Murphy and Zubaira Tukhugov. So it takes a really good class of fighter to beat Douglas Silva De Andrade in the first place. And those are 3 very dangerous guys, and he was able to stand up to their danger. So he's a very tough guy. He has been hurt a few times, especially in his last fight against Cody Stamann in round 3. He got hit with a sharp uppercut and a left hook or whatever, and he was floored, where I thought Cody was about to knock him out. And he was also knocked down against Sergey Morozov, which was 2 fights ago. And that was a fight where he was hurt badly and had to weather the storm. And after getting rocked badly in round 1, he took over, knocked the shit out of Sergey Morozov, and then strangled him at the end of round 2. It was his best performance in the UFC, one of the highlights, maybe the highlight of his career. But still, he was hurt in that fight. And against Said Nurmagomedov, in the final seconds of their fight, I thought he was hurt. He seemed like he was kind of staggering and whatever, but I don't know. He was pretty exhausted there too. But he has been hurt in his last two fights. I say he was hurt in round three, and Miles Johns is pretty dangerous in round three. Again, that's where he gets the majority of his knockouts. He's a good round three fighter. So there's a little concern when the exhaustion starts to kick in that maybe the durability of Douglas Silva De Andrade wouldn't be there for him, and he could suffer his first legit knockout loss. So I'm happy having played Miles Johns' money line, but I am still going to wait for the props because despite the power and the durability issues and all the shit I just talked about, he should win this fight by decision if he wins this fight. I mean, Douglas Silva De Andrade, he's a really good, dangerous guy. I think Miles Johns won't be looking to turn this into a wild fight. I think he'll be looking to outpoint him on the feet instead of going through him with power. I'd favor Douglas Silva De Andrade's power over Miles Johns' power. So I think Miles is going to be fighting for a decision in this fight. So that is the pick. I've got Miles Johns winning by decision. Hopefully he mixes in his wrestling and makes it a lot easier for him and for my bet. And for Douglas Silva De Andrade, I like him, so I'm hoping to see a good showing for him. But yeah, I haven't bet on him. These odds are so tight where I'm just going with my inclination, my pick. And my pick is Miles Johns at 30 years old. He's going to outpoint Douglas Silva De Andrade. But coming back the other way, if I was to bet on Andrade, it would be via finish because he's very dangerous, even if he's scored more points at the UFC level. But Miles Johns has only been finished twice and only been beaten twice, and they were both finishes. So considering Douglas Silva De Andrade is more dangerous than those guys, I would think he would get a finish as well. But fuck that. The pick is Miles Johns. He's the bet so far, just the money line. And I'll wait to see the props and see what his decision prop looks like. Because I think if he does win, it should be by decision. Although, again, little reservations. Like, share, subscribe, all that horse shit. Check out my other videos.